remember last week when I said, I'm asymptomatic right now, so I'm probably fine? Well, I wasn't asymptomatic and I wasn't fine. But when I'm sick, there's nothing I love in this world more than watching my favourite TV shows like Digimon or playing some video games and blowing off steam in something like Tekken. And amazingly, Tekken and Digimon have actually crossed over before, with recurring Tekken roster character Lily also being a Digimon tamer in the Digimon World Redigitized games. This was such an oddball crossover between two Bandai Namco properties that it has left that rare Venn diagram of Digimon fans and FGC fans, myself included, wanting more. And so on today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at what a full-on Digimon and Tekken crossover fighting game might look like. As my stream meme goes, welcome to the King of Digimon Fist Tournament. Enter the Dikken. Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing while COVID still has me in its thralls. And yes, you probably noticed all this art behind me because yes, I bought a giant corkboard. It extends about twice the way up past the frame. To show off your artwork that you've made for this channel, you can see like Hiraethmon here, Wormmon, very old picture of me as my Animal Crossing avatar. So if you have art that you want me to put up on this wall related to this channel, you could of course share it with me on Twitter at Karn_EX or in my Discord, which is linked in the description. But now I have a PO box again. So if you want to send me your art physically or anything else, because I really would love to start doing mail time videos over on the second channel, you can send basically anything you want within reason. Please don't send bombs or dildos. To Karn EX, Plas, Eirias Business Centre, Abergele Road, Colwyn Bay, LL29 8BF, United Kingdom. My plan is to open every single piece of mail on camera, somehow probably on the second channel like I say, and if you're struggling with Welsh words, don't worry, it is all in the description for you to copy and paste. Thank you so much, guys. So I do want this to be a little bit more than just a giving Tekken characters Digimon partners video. And while yes, that is an important part of it and will be a good chunk of the video, I first wanted to cover just what sort of fighting game Dikken would be. We call it Dikken for a joke because on stream one time I was saying it's crazy that Bandai Namco, who owns Digimon, made a monster fighting game with Pokemon. And then someone in my chat said they should call it Dikken. And well, that silly name stuck. I do want to say while we are focusing on this being a fighting game, I would also be interested in Digimon appearing in something like Project Cross Zone, which has Bandai Namco, Capcom and a bunch of other characters in it. So while yes, we are leaning towards fighting game, any Digimon Tekken crossovers are good in my book. I 100% however don't want to use the Pokken fighting system. It's clunky and just not enjoyable to me. So the temptation then would be to have it be a standard 3D fighter 1v1 like Tekken 7, and indeed I will be basing this roster on Tekken 7 just because it's the most recent standard. However, the integral partner element of Digimon just feels too good for me to ignore and leave out. As such, the natural path to me would be to follow something like Tekken Tag Tournament. We're just going to accept that Digimon and humans are going to be fighting here. If it's good enough for Marcus Damon, it's good enough for me. And in fact, we'll get back to Marcus a little bit later. Plus, we already have Tekken combatants kicking the ever-loving shit out of bears, kangaroos, and whatever the fuck Gon is, so Digimon a fair game, I reckon. So if we base this on the Tekken tag system, but have it be so that a duo has to be one Tekken character and one Digimon, I think we can have some really interesting dynamics. For straight up competitive, I think the combat and meters being closely based on Tekken 7 makes sense. Using that engine even, and so every Tekken character keeping the rage meter would make a ton of sense. But we could keep things interesting by having the Digimon equivalent of the rage meter be a Digivolution meter. It could build up like rage, or it could be something that only opens up on the second or final round. FGC balancing knowledge is like really not super good these days, so take all this with a grain of salt if you're an FGC person. I'm sure there is better balancing that could be found here. The balance on punishing would also be tough. Would it be possible to maybe knock a Digimon out of Digivolution before they can finish their Digivolution sequence? Or would Digivolution have invincibility frames but be wide open to attack once the Digivolution animation is done? Would a Digimon then be able to stay in their Digivolved form for the rest of the round or match? Or would it be something that can be activated at any point during a match, but once used expends a meter, like in Digimon Rumble Arena? Perhaps once your Digivolution meter is empty at that point, it does not recharge for the rest of the round. Regardless, I think that might make the most sense as a kind of rage or V-trigger equivalent for these Digimon, and because we have Digivolution, that would potentially give us two Digimon to pair with each Tekken character. I think sticking to one evolution level for everyone is tricky, so instead I'll be trying to keep Digimon within a size boundary somewhat. It would be a little bit unbelievable to see Steve Fox punch Millenniumon's lights out, but it could be somewhat believable he could go toe-to-toe with a Myotismon if he got a good hit in, you know? I am, however, not ruling out like tag team finishes, maybe where both have a full meter that could make a Digimon go to Mega level or do a really intense attack if they're already at Mega level. Maybe even something like Biomerge could work if the Digimon partner was appropriate. However, this does kind of come to the main thing we have to address with a Digimon Tekken crossover, and that is some kind of injustice level power balancing that happens. Whether all the Tekken characters get given like Digimon level powers or all the Digimon get depowered, there would have to be some kind of universal scaling lore-wise just to explain why like a Bancho Leomon could fight Kazuya Mishima. As such as well, Digimon of different levels from Rookie up to Mega would also be scale adjusted. This is not ideal, but in the world of fighting games, it's more important that everyone is balanced and for the lore to make 100% sense when it comes to these crazy crossovers. Oh hey, also huge news, I'm now a GamerSupps partner. Don't know how that happened. GamerSupps has hooked me up with a ton of different flavors, including their new Lychee GG and Strawberry GG flavors, and all this waifu stuff from the new Season 2.4 waifu launch they've had. If you like Digimon and Tekken, you probably like video games and waifus, so I'd honestly recommend GamerSupps a ton. Keeping up my hydration while I've had COVID has been incredibly helpful, and the fact that these actually taste good has been like much better than just trying to force water down. And to celebrate our partnership, for the next 4 hours from this video releasing, anyone to use my code time after time, yeah, I did that, at checkout has a chance to get 100% free shipping on free samples anywhere in the world, and then anyone who misses the free shipping can still take advantage of saving 10% off their entire order on things like those new strawberry and lychee flavors. Full transparency, GamerSupps hasn't given me any money, they've just given me a ton of product, which is super nice of them, but if you support my link and my code, obviously I get a kickback, but also there are chances the more people that buy the stuff for us to unlock our own waifu cups, and even we could get our own flavor. And that just makes me wonder what that flavor would be. Would it taste like me? What do I taste like?
Ew, gross.
Okay, so we've covered with broad strokes what the actual gameplay would be like, but what about the roster? As I said, I'm basing this roster for Tekken largely on the base Tekken 7 roster, so no guest characters like Negan and Noctis. Just to give a kind of generalized example of the Tekken franchise, of course some of your favorites may be missing from this list. And from there I have tried to match them with Digimon that would either match them thematically, story-wise, or visually. I'm gonna blaze through these a hell of a lot quicker than I do with other videos, so strap in and let's get to this roster. Elisa and Monitormon and High Vision Monitormon, because she's a robot and I figured the little cute robot accompanying her would be really cool. Asuka and Justimon, which has mode changes to its different arms instead of evolution. Asuka is a big proponent of justice, and the variable Kazuma style traditional martial arts suits Justimon's arms changing ability. Bob would get Burpmon. Burpmon would not actually evolve, but grow bigger over time as it inhales its enemies. Brian would get Troopmon and then Mad Leomon armed mode. Dragonov would get Commandramon and Sealsdramon, because duh. Jin would get Agumon and Greymon. This is primarily for something like the box art. While I don't think Agumon is like the best pick for Jin necessarily, Jin Kazama is kind of our pro tag still, although that is shifting as Tekken carries on throughout the years. But if Jin is the box art guy, then Agumon kinda has to be the box art Digimon. And that would also mean that Devil Jin would get Agumon X and Greymon X. I know some of you will want him to have Devimon. Give me a minute. Claudio would get Angemon and Magna Angemon because he is a holy defender and exorcist. Eddie would get Namakemon and then Tempomon because Tempomon does capoeira. And Eliza would get Devimon and Myotismon. She's a vampire. She has to have Myotismon. It just makes sense. Feng would get Boutmon and Shroudmon. Gygus would get Chrysalimon and Infamon. Heihachi would get Monzemon that would slide Digivolve to Waru Monzemon. Harang would get Bancho Leomon to match up with his Tekken 7 design, and Bancho Leomon would burst mode rather than digivolving further. Jack would get Gargramon to Andromon. Katarina would get Peacockmon to Parrotmon because a lot of her moves take their names from birds or avian motifs. Kazuya would get Lucamon and Lucamon fall down mode. This because Lucamon is very human looking, but of course does fall down into Lucamon fall down mode, referencing Kazuya's literal fall down, but also metaphorical fall down. And of course, Kazuya has his devil form, and it was long rumored, although this has never actually been confirmed in canon, and as fact has been deconfirmed, I believe, by Harada, there was also Angel, who some believe to be the other half of Kazuya. Whether or not Angel and Devil ultimately end up to be two halves of Kazuya, or Angel is its own thing, there has still always been that association between the two, which is why I think Lucamon and fall down mode would be perfect for Kazuya. Kazumi would get Mihiramon to Baihumon. King would get Volcamon to Pile Volcano Volcamon, because of course Volcamon is a wrestler and is also based on Volcano Ota. You could have done like a leopard or tiger or something Digimon for King, but I think the wrestling part is more important. Also, could we get a Luchador Digimon soon? Lars is the alpha leader in Yggdrasil. Crazy how things like that happen. So of course he would get Ginryumon and Hisaryumon, with maybe Alphamon as the team combo ultra. Law would get Teruimon and Antilamon. Teruimon is a martial artist discovered in the Chinese mountains, although I was tempted to give him a Bergamon because Law is also a chef.
My name is Chef.
Lee would get Violet Alekmon because, well, his other identity is Violet, which would go to Mojiamon, which is a kind of old man looking Digimon that kind of reminds me of Heihachi. Leo would get Leomon and Grapleomon, literally just because I thought Leo having a Leomon was funny, I'm sorry. Lily would get Numemon, and in this game her Numemon will become Platinum Numemon. In Redigitize, I believe her Numemon can become Monzemon and Etamon, but obviously we'll be using Monzemon and Etamon's kind of boring, so let's just fully commit to the Numemon line with her. Lucky Chloe would get Gatomon, which would then digivolve to Betsumon, which would be played for humor. Chloe is surprised her cute Gatomon could become a creepy Betsumon. Miguel would get Ogamon and then Matadormon. Akuma, who I know is from Street Fighter but is intrinsic to the Mishima lore at this point, so I guess we have to include him, would get Meramon to Asoramon. Both are powerful fiery Digimon for Akuma to biomerge with, because his goal is to become the most powerful being on Earth. Plus, I wanted to put Asoramon in there as a bit of a joke because Akuma actually appears in the video game Asura's Wrath. Master Raven or Raven would get Peckmon to Karatenmon. Nina Williams would get Systemon CL to Angelwomon. Paul would get Garudamon to Phoenixmon, whose name is Paul Phoenix. I mean, you could also just give him any other Digimon that does like punches or whatever. You know, your mileage may vary. Shaheen would get Sylphimon to Valkyrymon because his name means hawk or falcon, but as Peckmon is already on the list and Hawkmon didn't fit super well, I thought Sylphimon and Valkyrymon would be a great fit. Steve would get Gaumon to Gaugamon. I really wanted to give him Kangaroomon, but he's British, not Australian, and I don't want Americans getting the wrong idea. Xiaoyu would of course get Pandamon, and Yoshimitsu would get Octomon to Tono-sama Gekomon. But we're not done. You may have noticed that some of the non-human characters from the Tekken roster are missing from this list. And that is because we are going to flip the script and have some human Digimon characters be on the Digimon roster to partner with those characters. So Gon is going to appear in this game and is going to be partnered with Marcus Damon, of course as a send-up to Marcus and Agumon in Data Squad. Kuma is going to be partnered with Daigo Nishijima because Daigo Nishijima is one of the most prominent Bearmon partners, and Panda is going to be partnered with Yunogi from the Cyber Sleuth games, who can actually have a Pandamon on his team. Now this roster is probably far too big, but I wanted to give a good rundown of some Tekken and Digimon pairings. In the game, I don't think you would be committed to having these specific pairings, just having one Tekken and one Digimon character on a team, so you could really mix and match a lot of these and have some really fun combos potentially. But that's my thoughts on a potential Digimon / Tekken crossover, or Dikken, if you will. But as I said, I am far from a fighting game expert, especially when it comes to things like balancing, so I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you like this concept? Would you prefer it to be a different kind of fighting game, like an arena fighter or a 2D fighter, or even a Coliseum fighter much more like the Rumble Arena games? Maybe you even think that we should go back and cross the line to Street Fighter Cross Tekken and bring back the gem system for this. But let me know all those thoughts in the comments down below. I am coming to the end of Omicron, as you can tell from my throat. It's not quite gone yet, but we're going to keep up those weekly videos throughout January, and I'm able to do so thanks to people like my Sovereign ZDK14 for his tremendous support. Thank you so much, my guy. My Dava NQG420 for holding it down, and all the names you can see on screen right now. These are all people who are supporting the channel with their hard-earned money in one of the toughest times for many people, so thank you all so much. And remember, if you become a channel member for as little as like $2, you can get early access to basically all my videos. So thank you to everyone on screen, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time when we go digital. Bye bye.